Morning class, my name is Michael Reblo. Today I will be refuting the claim that hip-hop has been a positive influence on social justice within the United States in recent years. The advocate did not necessarily make specific secondary claims, but used three separate examples of why this can be true. His first secondary claim he used as an example, he stated lyrics from a song. The lyrics being, white kids brought into life, black kids get hit with like 5. Get scared, you panic, you go down, the disadvantage of being brown. A suggestive claim from this could be that stories in music are written by artists hoping to inspire people to fight back against oppression. And in these lyrics, you might see that, yes, it is informative of what is going on, but it can also be suggestive that in the song, the artist is suggesting to move towards Black Lives Matter. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing to do, but Black Lives Matter activists are known to be violent and reckless with trying to get across their points. A writer for Times.com, Jacob Sanborn, wrote an article on Black Lives Matter on how they're known to be blocking main interstates, attack police officers, and other violent activities. So in a way, I'm kind of saying that basically what this artist can be suggesting and moving people to do is to move towards these violent activities, which might not be a good thing or might not be a good influence for social justice. His secondary claim, he used an example of a Kendrick Lamar concert. And in this concert, Kendrick Lamar invites a young lady onto stage to sing his song. And during the song, there's a portion of his lyrics that use the N-word. And my advocate claims that Kendrick Lamar had her booed off stage, and this shows that he is showing that he cares to not use these words, but Kendrick Lamar put this in his specific song, these lyrics that this person sang, and she got booed off stage. He had an entire crowd boo her off stage, and in doing so, he basically was being hypocritical and moving these people to think that that's okay to do, and to be mean to someone for using their own words. Basically, the example he used countered what he was trying to say in his main claim. Third claim, or example that he used, was Beyonce. He used her as a leading female figure in hip-hop music, and that she gives back to the community, setting examples. In that, I researched Beyonce's music, and her main genre of music is R&B and basically she became famous over R&B music. And there's even an article from the editors of the Encyclopedia Britannica, and they wrote that she became famous in the 90s for her R&B music. And she is famous, but she wouldn't be a good example for hip-hop music in the recent years, which he says that it's recently becoming good for social justice. But recent years, hip-hop artists, you would think other people. I went into the BET.com and I researched the last 3 years of who received the award of Female Hip-Hop Artist of the Year. This year, 2018, BET awarded Cardi B for Female Hip-Hop Artist of the Year. And the year before that, in 2017, she was put up for Female Artist of the Year along with Missy Elliott and Nicki Minaj. And the year before that, 2016, Nicki Minaj won the 2016 Female Hip Hop Artist of the Year. So women like this could be seen as examples of big influences for females and males in hip-hop music. A man named Hollis Warmby wrote an article for Birmingham Times about Cardi B, and where she had an interview, and in this interview, she discussed how in the past she had gang relations and that she was a stripper, but now that she's a famous artist, hip-hop artist that many young women and men look up to. I would hope that our future young women wouldn't aspire to become a future hip-hop artist through stripping or being gang-related. In his article, he also goes on to say that she uses this for her fame to become more famous because hip-hop sells gang violence and drugs and everything, so it helps her. In the end, I don't believe that hip-hop recently has been influencing social justice well, and that's the end of my refutation.
I will agree with you on one thing. Beyonce may have done hip-hop, but it's not her main thing. She's generally known for her singing capabilities. Like Single Ladies. Not true. Yeah. But I wouldn't call Beyonce an example of hip-hop.
Well, that's what he just said.
Yeah.
That was his argument, yeah.
That's my last.
All right, Michael, you basically tried to create a structure based on the examples, and I think that's reasonable. If that's in fact the way the advocate presented their argument around the examples, then focusing on the examples makes sense. When you talk about the first one and the lyrics of the song and how they may in fact be negative because they would encourage people or drive people to a more radical point of view that's less likely to improve social justice and more likely to provoke violence. I thought that was an interesting approach to be taking. Then you've got examples of Black Lives Matter being connected to that. You want to make sure that you're not equivocating the two as if they are the same thing, and you need to be making a causal claim here. I'm not sure what the advocate's causal claim was based on the lyrics here, that the lyrics in a song have changed anything. I think that would be the thing to challenge first. Has it changed anything? Are people more aware because of the song that appears? Or if there is knowledge or activity on this issue, does that occur for some other reason? Somebody else's actions or behaviors might be more likely to draw attention to this kind of issue than the lyrics from a particular song. I don't know how the advocate was suggesting that was the case. I'm not sure that your argument really addresses the reasoning that's being presented there. Instead, it presents kind of this counterclaim that says those lyrics could lead us to, down a darker path that maybe is not the appropriate way to address those issues. That's a reasonable argument to make. I'm just, like I say, I think you're not always engaging in what the advocate's argument was also. The Kendrick Lamar illustration, I think that you kind of summarize what you see as the events being there. There's how it does anything about social justice, I'm not quite sure. How it humiliates one person, it seems like that's pretty obvious. Was that a positive thing for social justice? I think that's the question to be asking here. Not just is it hypocritical or is it inappropriate, but is this something that is advanced social justice because this particular fan was chastised in such a public way? Is it going to force people to think differently about the use of that word, is it going to force people to think differently about Kendrick Lamar, for example? That might be an interesting question. I don't know how anybody measures that. I don't know how the advocate suggested that this was going to be impactful. And in your situation, I think that you point out legitimately that this is, it certainly seems, like it's grandstanding or unfair and potentially hypocritical to have done this sort of thing to that particular person. I don't know, there's probably some follow-up on this. I would be interested to see what the person who was in that situation said about the whole thing. That might have been a good piece of information to have, where maybe they felt used and abused, and as a consequence are less favorable toward the messages that Kendrick Lamar is supposed to be communicating, and instead feels more antagonistic as a consequence of that. That would, I think, illustrate your point a little bit more effectively. It's a perfectly reasonable argument to make that you've got here, but does it address the issue of the social justice thing that the advocate's talking about? And then your argument about Beyonce not really being an example of a hip-hop artist, that she's really outside of that because she's known for R&B. Okay, I can appreciate that. I'm still not sure why I'm hearing about the awards that Cardi B and Nicki Minaj and others have been given. That they were influential, or that they're real hip-hop artists and Beyonce's not. She's a poser. I don't know exactly what I'm supposed to do with that information, and as a consequence, it doesn't mean that much to me. You do have kind of a follow-up argument that suggests that hip-hop sometimes incite, it's kind of like we're resorting back to the first argument that you have there, where the hip-hop music sometimes directs people toward, like if Cardi B is, she got started as a stripping gangster. Yeah, she's a stripping gangster. That's not exactly the kind of thing that we want to incentivize in people, and if we were setting that up as a role model, that would be a little bit problematic. Okay, that's a reasonable criticism to make. All right, that's enough. Thank you.